Hello, welcome back. So today we are going to start the concept of variables in JavaScript. And without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it. So let's create a folder. I'm going to call it public. It doesn't really matter what you call it. Let's launch Visual Studio Code. I'm going to close this. Let's open the folder we just created. That's going to be on my desktop, and that is it right there. Open, and here I'm just going to create an index.html file. Let's create style.css. Then I'm going to create a variable. Let's say variables.js. That is the most important file right now for us. So I'm going to go into the HTML file. I'm going to create an HTML block. Let's create that. Let's give it a name, Coding University. It doesn't really matter. So let's create an h1 tag. Let's say variables. Let's create a p tag just for the sake of completeness. Welcome to this fun class. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We are not here for HTML class. So, but anyway, let's also just style the h1 elements. So let's say color. Let's just give it a color. 3B5998. By the way, that is Facebook blue. So I think, okay, so let's link the style. We don't have the CSS file. We have it just in the public directory. So let's add the scripts with a source of variables.js, and I think that should be all we need to get this HTML file running. So if we launch it now, it should be up and running at the port 5500. Awesome. So let's inspect this to go to the console. We need the console to see the result of whatever thing we are doing. And now I want to put the console in the same window as my, let's close this, the same window as my Visual Studio Code. Let's have some breathing space here. Now we don't really need the HTML. So variables. So generally in any computer application, being it a web app or a desktop app, there is always a need to store data, right? And variables are used to store this data. And just think of variables as named storage, okay, for data. Or you can, let's give this analogy of a box, right? That box being the variable, okay, and then the value is whatever item you put in that box is the value, okay. And in every programming languages, okay, in every programming language there is something we call keyword, and keyword is what we use to it's more or less part of the syntax of that programming language, okay. So in JavaScript we use what we know as the let keyword to declare a variable. So we can say something like let user, okay, and let user just say that there is a variable called user, but now there is nothing inside it. So let's say user equals let's say John Reese, and now that just means that we gave it a value, right? And we can see it in the console by logging into the console, and we can just say console.log user, and let's see what that is. If we click here, we are going to see right here, right? That is John Reese. Now we can have different variable, different variables being declared, in our application. As a matter of fact, there will be a lot of variables being declared in an application, especially in a production app, right? Because there will be so many data and you have to keep them in different variable names, okay. So we can also have a number, a variable that has a number value inside it. Say something like let age, or let me say let's my age equals let's say, let's just say something 30, and if we say console.log age, and if we look at the console, oh, what's going on there? Reference to age is not defined. Oh, sorry, I forgot we used my age. I guess my eyes failed me there. Anyway, so now we can see, right, it's working. But it's good that, you know, you guys see how we can run into problems, you know, when we are programming, when we are writing codes. You know, if you don't pay attention, then things can go really wrong really quickly. So one thing though is that in choosing the name of your variables, you can't just, you know, pick any name. Okay, there are rules that guide us in choosing names. Okay, like for example, let's say we cannot start a variable name with a number in JavaScript. Okay, so you should know that that is a rule, very important rule in JavaScript. Okay, and you can see I did this intentionally just to show us that in JavaScript, if you want to write a comment for yourself or for other people that are reading your code, you can start with a // or if you are on Mac, you can do command // it's going to give you that block to write your comments. And comments are good for letting other people understand what your code is doing. Like here, I can say something like, I can leave a comment for the next person that is going to come here to read my code later on. I can say collect the user age here, you know, something like that. And one other thing is that variables in JavaScript should be, I mean, in all programming languages, okay? Because, I mean, variables needs to be descriptive, okay? It should be descriptive. You can't just say something crazy. Let's say you are trying to collect the age of a user, and then you say something like, let's understand equals 30. Like maybe you are using understand to mean the age. That would be weird, right? You can use something descriptive, okay, for age. Anyway, I don't need to cancel that. I can just comment it out. That is another, you know, thing you can do when you're coding. You can just control / to comment out a particular code that you don't need anymore. Like now, if I bring my cursor here and I /, that automatically comments out this code. Okay, so if they say comment out a code, that is simply saying that you should not let your compiler will not read this code, this line that we have commented out. Okay, and if we try to save this now, you will see that we are going to hit an error because now we have commented out the variable my age, right? And here we are trying to log it to the console. So if I come here now, you are going to see, right, it says reference error, my age is not defined, because we need to declare something before we can use it later on in the code. But now if I uncomment out this and come back here, it will be okay again to use, right? Cool. Now we can also copy stuff. Okay, we can copy stuff. We can say something like let's say let friend age equals my age. Okay, now that is a valid JavaScript code. Simply we are copying the age of my age. My age is what? 30. Now if I log to the console, the value of console.log the value of friend's age, that is going to simply be what? You can guess, right? 30. As you can see, right? 30. Cool. So that is also important, that we can copy variables from one variable to the other. So another thing to know is that we have another keyword that we call the var keyword. We can use the var keyword instead of the let keyword. Although there are differences when it comes to using the var keyword. The var keyword is an old keyword, you know, that we use in JavaScript. We still use it today, but you know, I mean, it depends on what you want to do, okay? Because there are differences in between the let and the var keyword, although they, for the most part, they do the same thing, right? But when it comes to scoping and hoisting, which I will try to talk about in this class, but yeah, I think I will try to just say something about it. But because we are just starting this, I don't want to start talking about big stuff. Scoping, though, it's not that big. Not much of a big topic. But anyway, let's go. Slow and steady wins the race. So let's say var my car equals let's just say something. It doesn't really matter. Hyundai, right? And then we can just say console.log my car, and we're going to see, right? So we're going to log my car to the console. Oh, what's going on there? Hyundai is not. Oh, sorry. So it's good that we are hitting these errors, right? So it's good. So you can see Hyundai is not defined. Why is this happening? So we are trying to initialize this variable. When I say initialize again, I'm basically saying that I declare a variable and I'm giving it a value. But here I am writing Hyundai or Hyundai, whatever you call it, as a plain test in this JavaScript code, which is not valid. It's supposed to be a string, and for strings, it should be in a double quotes like this, right? So now the JavaScript, because if it is not in a string, JavaScript will be reading this as another variable that has been declared somewhere, but it was never declared, right? So that is why we ran into this error. And now if I click here, this should be okay to to run. You can see, right, Hyundai. And I did not make that mistake intentionally. Okay, it wasn't an intentional mistake, but it's good anyway, right? It's good. So now we see what can go wrong. We also have the const keyword, okay? We can use the const keyword to declare a variable, and I will quickly tell you the difference between using the const keyword and the let keyword. So if I say something like const my sister age equals, let's just say something, 35, right? Now, if I say console.log my sister's age, right? Now, this is a valid JavaScript variable and a valid JavaScript code. If I come here, it is valid, right? It says, and you can see, right, it's coming from line 20, right? And that is line 20 here, meaning that what we are reading here is coming from line 20, which is basically the value of my sister's age, right? Now, the difference between let and the const keyword now is that for let, we can reassign the value of the let the variable that was declared with a let keyword. We can reassign it. Like now, we just said here that let friend age be equal to my age. Now I want to change something, okay? I want to say let's friend friend age now equal to 16, okay? Let's see what's going on. Oh, sorry, not let. So it's good again that we are running into this. We cannot use the let keyword to declare a variable that has been declared before. We're going to run into an error. So, but anyway, it's good that we are saying that. I'm going to just remove the let, and you can see. So we are reassigning. We don't need the let because it's already been declared. Now it's already been declared. We are just reassigning this, right? Now the age is not going to be 30 anymore. It's now going to be 16 because you can see, right, with this console.log. Let's see what it gives us. You can see, right, 16, right? Cool. That is really cool. I'm really excited, about this because those mistakes help you to learn. Okay, if you don't make mistake, you are probably not trying hard enough. Okay, so make mistakes. Anyway, so let's see something. We were able to reassign the value of friend age, right? A variable the variable named friend age. Let's see if we can reassign my sister's age that was declared with the const keyword. Let's see what happens there. Let's say my sister age equals 10. Okay, let's see what happens. And as you can see, right, as expected, it says assignment to constant variable at this type error. Now, if you need to reassign something, if you need a variable that the value is going to be changing constantly, or let's say every time, let me not use constantly to avoid mistakes, okay? If the variable value is going to be changing every time, then you should, use the let keyword. You can't use the const keyword because, as the name implies, constant, it means that this thing is constant. You understand? You will use const keyword for things like, so let's comment out that you will use const keyword for something like let my bet year equals let's say let's just say something 2001, right? Now let's say console.log my bet year. Okay, and if we come here, we'll see everything is running okay, right? Cool. And another thing to note here is that you can see you could some people may have been wondering, why am I writing this thing this way, right? My bet here. How do I know that I need to write it this way? Anyway, so reason I'm right, this thing is called camel case, okay? It's called camel case. Camel case. And the camel case is essentially you're starting everything with what? With a small case, okay? Small letter. You can still have numbers in your variable name, but number must not start, okay? Like you can have something like const my two brother equals wonderful. Just anything, it doesn't matter. We're just trying to learn here. Okay, and if you say, you can see we didn't get any error. Okay, we can say my two, and it's going to run to work okay, and everything works fine, right? So the differences between the let me write the comments here. So essentially the let and the const keyword are different because you cannot reassign the values for let. So values of value of let can be reassigned, but you cannot. Actually, let me say you can't, because there is an exception for that. Okay, you can't reassign the value of a variable initialized with the const keyword. Okay, with the const keyword. Okay, that is very important. Why I say there's an exception for that is that when we have an object, like if we have something like const name equals, so I know we have not gotten to objects, but let me just say something. Reddington. Okay, and then let's say age equals 30. Actually, sorry, I missed the name of this object. Let's say profile, equals this. Now also you cannot use semicolon there, comma. So this is an object. I know we've not got into object, but the point I'm trying to drive home is that for objects, if we declare the object name with a const, which we often do, we can reassign the value of the properties of the object, the values of the properties of the object. As you can see, right, as I'm hovering my mouse, my cursor over the name, it's telling me that it's a property, right? And the name is, its name is the name of this property is name, and it's a string type, right? Which we're going to get to later. But the point I'm driving home here is that we can reassign the values, the values of the properties of an object that was declared with a const keyword. Okay. So, but anyway, let me quickly finish this by talking briefly about the var and let. Let me just say something like differences. So I was talking about the fact that we cannot, the let and the excuse me, the let and the var keywords are different in some ways just a while ago. And the one that's stick out is, let me try and write an example. Let's say, let me see. Let me think. Okay, so let's say function, let's say, what can I say? Function with let's, let's say something like if true. I'm just typing something now, so let's use let's, since we're trying to try out let's. Let's say if let y equals 20. Now let's come out here. Let's come out here and say console.log y. Okay, I think this should be able to, this should help us explain the differences. Now here we have a function, right? The name of this function is with let, right? And now we have a conditional statement here that says if true, let y equals this. Of course, true will always be true, right? That means y is a variable that exists somewhere within this scope, right? And now we come out of this scope. Just think of scope as something like this. This is a scope, because a scope is just a block within two curly braces. Now we come out of this, and now we are outside and we are trying to check the value of y. You can, if you already know this, you can guess, right? This thing is going to give us an error. If I come here, let's see what's going on. Oh yeah, because I have not run this function, so I have to call this function with let me just call this function. Now I'm calling this function. Let's see what happens. And as you can see, as expected, it's telling me that y is not defined. Why is that? Even though we defined y, right? We defined it right here, but it's telling us that it's not defined. And the simple reason for that is because let's, it's a block scoped variable type. Okay, it's not something that you can just access anywhere in the code base. Okay, but if we bring this thing up here, just up a little bit, this code will run really nicely. You can see, right? It says y is equal to 20. And why is that? It's simply because we can now access y. It is within this scope, not outside of this scope, if it is let. But let's try the same thing. Let's take it back to where it was. Okay, let's leave this one as it is. Let's try the same thing with let. Let's copy this code so we don't waste time. With the let keyword, with the var keyword, sorry, let's try the same thing with the var keyword and take this one back to where it was. Okay, now this code will run fine. Now let me say with var, okay, and let's call with var function. Okay, it will run just fine. As you can see, it runs just fine. Let me change this just so you know that it's coming from this line. You can see, right? It runs just fine, and that is it. So again, this is not functions class, this is not object class, but we needed to, you know, explain something so you can understand it. But mainly we're going to discuss more about that. And also the var keyword and the const keywords are also different when it comes to hoisting. You understand? So, but again, I don't want to start talking about all those things here because they are a bit advanced for beginning, you know, variables topic. You understand? So, but anyway, we'll talk about it when we get there. So this will bring us to the end of the variable class. But essentially, you can quickly, you know, recall what we learned here: how to use the let keyword, the reassignments of variables and variables values, and the fact that in naming we cannot just use any name. We should use names that are descriptive. And I mean, name that are descriptive means names that actually mean something. We can't just, you know, throw any name out and say, okay, that is the variable name. So like I said before, in the previous class when I was introducing you to JavaScript, I said I am going to run this code, the one that I gave to you as challenge. Let's see what it gives us. So now I have the code here. We have list of men, list of women, and we're trying to select 2 random people. Let's see what it gives us. If I click outside of this window, it should save this, and then we should see the result in our console. So let's see. Okay, cool. So we have Ruto and Rachel. If we run it again, it's going to give us another thing, but let me just change something in the code so it can save again. So you can see right now it's giving us Tinubu and Rachel. So awesome. So it works fine. And that will bring us to the end of this class, and I will see you in the next class, which is going to be really fun. It's going to be introducing us to data types in JavaScript, and I can't wait to get to that class. All right, see you in the next class. Bye.